Are we ready?
We need to check that.
Okay, here we go.
Okay.
We're doing now, we talked about this most unbelievable miracle prayer of them all. The 42 letter name of God. And you're getting it. Okay? Can you just do me a favor, close this door? Thanks. If it gets too hot. All right, there we go. Thanks. All right. So the 42 letter name of God, where do we get it from? Where does it originate from? Okay? So, thank God, we have Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. Of course, it's handed down from way before, from ancient times. Moshe Rabbeinu is said to have killed the Egyptian with the 42 letter name of God. Right?
Oh, the one that he killed before he ran away?
Vincent Price.
I don't know that. David would.
Why? You mean you don't go into Charlton Heston and Vincent
I've
Price?
seen it, but not as many times. My husband knows every line by heart.
Okay, not me, but
Not
anyways.
Not me, but yes.
Only when I saw it many years later, I'm going like, that's Vincent Price. I didn't know that. He looks so young. Okay. Anyways, so in any case, it wasn't through that or any other means. It was the name of God that Moshe Rabbeinu used to kill the Egyptian man. Vibrations can kill. Okay? And the right sequence with the right intentions in mind can do very many great things. The name is extremely holy. We're not allowed to say it as it is written right there on your sheet, on this column here. You see, notice the left column with these Hebrew letters here on this sheet?
Okay.
Right? That is the name.
That is.
If you'll count the letters, there's 42.
Oh, yes.
There's basically 7
Okay.
sets of 6. 7 times 6 is 42. One for each day of creation. Okay? And actually, the place where it is written about, at least in the earliest texts, is in the Tikkunei Zohar, is in the 4th Tikkun, where there's a phrase that we say, King David said in Tehillim, Pitchu li sharei tzedek avovam odeka, which means, open up for me the gates of righteousness, let me come in and worship Hashem. Okay? There's a great song from the yeshiva that I came from, Diaspora Yeshiva. Pitchu li sharei tzedek avovam odeka. Okay, so anyways, they would sing this song. And it's you also have it in the special Hallel prayer section. When we say Hallel, we say it in there. Open up for me the gates of righteousness. Let me in. Avovam. So it uses the word vam. Vam is beit and mem. Beit and mem is the numerical value, is 42. You switch it, it's, right? So in other words, opening up for me the gates of righteousness, avo, I will come in through vam, through 42. Open up for me the gates of righteousness. God, please, open up for me the gates, let me get in, right? Some people think they're already in, and if you do think you're already in, you're definitely not in. King David saying, let me open up. He's all the time, he's going, oh, that is the gate. The gate to go in, right? The gates of righteousness is to say, let me in. Because if you're already thinking you're in, you're not. Okay. Anyways, the idea really is he says, avovam, let me go in them, right? And vam means them. But here, if you look at it in Hebrew, it's beit mem, which is mem beit, which is 42. So there's a code in this phrase that the 42, and we learned a little bit last week about what's these 42 represent. Oh, you weren't here.
I was not. So
And you didn't even catch it online.
I did
because
not.
we were offline. Okay? Something wasn't working, I think.
I did not see it, so I don't know
Okay,
what.
so I'm filling you in.
Thank you.
Great review.
Thank you
okay?
very much.
It's all
I appreciate
good.
it.
It's all good. Okay? It's very holy, this name. We're not allowed to say it as it is written here. There was a huge sage, okay, by the name of one of the 10 martyrs, okay? One of the 10 martyrs here. I just want to make sure I want to get his name right? Rabbi Hanina ben Teradion. Rabbi Hanina ben Teradion, as they say, was brought into the Romans. He was one of the 10 martyrs who died a very brutal death. They asked him, what do you do? What do you do? What are you busy with? And he says, I'm busy with teaching Torah. I'm learning Torah. And they say, that's forbidden. You know, that's against the law. That's like having some serious illegal drugs, right? So they give the death penalty for that kind of thing, and they soaked fleeces of wool, put it on his chest, and burned the extremities of his body. Unbelievably torturous. The fleeces on his wool was to keep his heart cool, so he wouldn't die fast.
Nice.
Okay?
Yeah, good.
Yeah. Was not, and they say the reason why that he was sentenced to be burned was because he used the 42-letter name to get things that he wanted. Not things that he wanted for himself personally. I believe he was the holiest of sages. But it's brought down in the Rashi because he was meditating on the name with its letters, and that means the 42-letter name, and he was making things that he wanted. He brought about things. You can bring about things through this name. So just to let you know the holiness of this name, they'd only give to people who are very holy, right? Who are, the criteria was, right? They have to be very modest people, humble. They have to be at least half their years old. In other words, the level of maturity. They can't get angry. They can't get drunk. They have to go ahead and not be a particular person about their we call it midos, their character. They can't have, it's like the midah of hakpada. How do you translate hakpada? It means, it's also they get upset when little things are done, when things don't go their way.
Is it like OCD kind of life,
yeah.
where you're just everything's got to be perfect? Is it like that?
Kind of like that, and then when somebody over fringes, how do they react?
They go crazy. They
Okay, so
can't
that's
deal
it.
with it. Yeah.
So Hashem should
Perfectionists.
help us from that disease. Okay. In any case, they'd only give it to somebody who's very a modest person, who's in with the program, guards his purity, and he's a very holy guy. That's who they give the exact way how to pronounce it, because these letters, if you'll notice, don't have any vowels. So we don't know really the real way to pronounce it. But thank God we had a sage come by, his name was Rabbi Nechunya ben Hakana, very holy sage, and he wrote what you see on the right-hand side. The right-hand side there is a prayer, and the prayer, each first letter in Hebrew of this prayer, which we're going to have to transliterate for y'all. Each first letter of this prayer is one of the letters of the name of the 42 letter name of God. So when I say Ana BeKoach, that's the first two words, Ana BeKoach, and that's the first letters of those two words are the letters that are in the 42 letter name. So if I say this prayer in Hebrew, or at least the pronunciation of the letters, and I have in mind, right alongside of it, the name of the 42. So it's as if I am pronouncing, or I'm saying in a kosher way, a safe way, the 42-letter name of God. And we say it a lot of times. This name appears in many places. This name doesn't just appear in Sfirat HaOmer. This name also appears in, we say it every morning, before we say the morning prayers. We say it also in Hanukkah, Shabbat, on Friday nights, we say it. Mincha, people say it, Mincha. And then there's some people say, we said Hanukkah, and then there's other times where we say it, which was when, okay? On the table, people say it at the table, okay, after my Machronim. And people say it when they're escorting the dead.
Really?
And when they are doing the Hakafas at Simchas Torah. And the Simchas Torah, when they're going around the Bima, they say it. Okay? So in other words, it's used a lot. Because really what it is, I'm sorry, I got John Lennon. I just zapped.
Oh.
That's okay.
I'm a baby boomer.
So, in any case, 42 is a very significant number, because we explained that when the Jewish people left Egypt, they were able to, that first one night of Egypt, they elevated all of the sparks that were in Egypt. It was an unbelievable, because they reached a certain level of consciousness when you reach a certain level of consciousness, you elevate the sparks that are in that area. Now let's go back into the sparks, in case you haven't heard of before. When Adam sinned in the Garden of Eden, so it's said to be like his neshama, his soul, exploded into sparks, all that went flying all over the world. Sparks of Adam's soul. So then mankind, after in the later generations, has to go out there and gather the holy sparks. The Arizal was the one who really came out with this and brought a lot of relief to very many depressed Jews that were in Europe and going, we've been out here 1,000 years in exile. The last exile was 70 years. We've been out here 1,000 years. And there's no explanation for it. Why is Hashem leading us out here? And they were suffering. And so came the 16th century Kabbalist, the Ari, and he said, well, that's the issue is there's these sparks that are out there, and we have to gather these sparks. And until those sparks are gathered, we have to be out in exile. So each person has their mission. Each person has their sparks, elements of their own soul that they have to go and gather throughout the world. Okay? So no matter if you're drawn to go to some weird, funky place in the middle of nowhere, Hooper's Dorton, and you got to stop by this gas station, and you got to get a chocolate bar because you got to get some sugar in your system to keep driving. You make a bracha on the chocolate bar. So you've elevated all the sparks of that place. Okay? And then you keep going, and hopefully you don't have to go back to that place again. Okay? But in any case, when the Jewish people went to Egypt, so they were gathering the sparks of manna, they gathered the head of Adam, so to speak. The head, the sparks that were mostly like as attached, connected, or associated with the head of Adam. And so when the first night of Egypt, with that unbelievable influx of light and energy and connection that they had, they were actually able to elevate and connect all of the sparks to their source. And then the next day, right after, everything was gone, lights out. The high was gone. The high was over. Okay? It was like a hangover. What happened? You know where you were last night, dude? Okay. You were licking the lamb blood on the. We had to stop you. So in any case, I don't know why I get on such imagery. Okay. In any case, must be from the baby boom years. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So in any case, after that day, poof, all lights were gone. The whole high epiphany was gone. Cinderella is now back home after the ball and meeting Prince Charming or whatever his name is. Okay, Edwin. I don't know what it is. Hi, what's your Edwin? Edwin? Really? Okay. In any case, George. My name is George. Okay, so in any case, after that, she's back home. Cinderella's back home. And so she's back home in the rags, and she's, so the Jewish people very much the same. After that, the lights were gone, and then they had to count, right? We count the 49 days to Shavuot, right? But really, 49 is really 42 plus 7, okay? Because if you look at these names, each one of these rows here on the left-hand side, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? And each one has 6 letters in them. So we count each night is one of these letters till we get to 6. We've counted 6 nights. And on the 7th night, we count the whole word or name again, on its own, meaning all 6 letters. In other words, we do 6 letters. Each night is 1 letter. First night is first letter. Second night, second letter. Third night, third letter. Right? 4th, 5, 6. And on the 7th night of this counting of the Omer, we have all of those 6. Okay, so that's 6 plus 1, 6 plus 1, 6 plus another one, 6 plus 2, right? In each one of the weeks. So if you add up that, plus the Shabbat, the 6 plus the 1, it ends up being 49. But the real significant thing is that elevating the sparks. The reason why after the first night of Passover the lights went out and then we have to count is because we have to reach that high, that epiphany, that connection ourselves. First night, God did it, was a freebie. Right? God does that with a lot of us. He did that with me, okay, in California. He gave me a freebie, right? I'm like, whoa, my eyes were open. Didn't know what to do about it. But Hashem then did a huge kindness with me, and he put into my brain, why don't you go travel, okay? Yeah, I'll go travel, right? And then I went and traveled, and then I found a yeshiva. He kind of plucked me out of California and put me into a yeshiva. So the idea really is that was a freebie, but then we have to really work for it, because then if we don't own it, how much is it worth if it's a freebie, right?
It's
You have to
like the bread of shame idea.
It is all the bread of shame. It's all about the bread of shame. It's all about us. But sometimes Hashem gives you a carrot.
Yeah. Okay.
He throws you a bone. He gives you a little high. A lot of people have this. A lot of Bali Chuvas have this. People who weren't religious, and all of a sudden they come to their eyes are open to Judaism and the unbelievable depth of Judaism and the meaning of life that it offers, and then they start following the Jewish way and the path, and they following all the laws, and then all of a sudden, life lights out. A lot of people, students in yeshiva, same thing. They're young, 18, 19, and they're very successful in their learning, and we call it steiging, right? They steig, whatever. It means they're growing and learning, and all of a sudden, poof, lights go out, right? And all of a sudden they lose their oomph. I don't have it anymore. I just don't not motivated anymore, right? And they don't show up to classes, and it's a phenomenon. It happens a lot in different forms, in different people, different situations. I see it in this community. People explode, and then they move to Fondren, and then they down. Okay? Yeah. Right. So let's do that again. Let's do that slow motion.
Question?
Okay.
So, can I ask a question? So you can, this is sort of like an up and down thing, right? So you can get yourself back up, but you have to work to get yourself back up. Once you lose it,
Judaism
right?
is not.
And then
give it to me, Rabbi.
Can you have,
give it to me.
Can you have ups and downs like
you
that?
Will,
And
you
it seems
will,
like
and it's constantly.
I've had it, yeah.
See, the 42 are very significant. The number 42 because they correspond to the 42 different places that the Jewish people traveled in the desert.
Yeah, that's right.
They traveled to 42 different places until they got the land of Israel. So the holy Baal Shem Tov says, that whole segment there is really, a macro, the Torah is a code. And it has to speak to every single individual in the here and now. And when you see that in the Chumash, that there's in the 5 books of Moses, there's 42 journeys. He says that is a person. Each individual's life has 42 points of travel. Okay? Doesn't have to be a physical travel. It's 42. Okay? So when the Jewish people came out of Egypt, that's the birth of a person. And then the person goes through 42 until they go to their land of Israel, which is their fulfillment, their land where they are, the place of fulfillment, meaning they've reached their potential. Got it? Mm-hmm. So you have 42 levels to get to your actual potential. Mm-hmm. Very dynamic. Okay. And that's what gets into why this 42-letter name is said so much. And that's why you have to understand what it means, understand what it's doing, because what it is, it's helping you reach your tikkun. Because when you're saying the names, you don't know what stage you're in. Right? You could be in number 41. You wish. Or you could be number 2. No, don't tell me that. Okay? Okay? So you want to, wherever you are, it's an up and down. that there's going to be ups and downs, because there's
Yeah.
every single place that they went to in the desert, there was a new challenge.
Yeah.
There was like a new enemy to face. It wasn't an enemy, a physical enemy, like a three-headed dragon, okay? It was some influence, it was some energy that they had to overcome, they had to deal with, they had to come to terms with, to, you know, in order to reach the next level. So the biggest example the Baal Shem Tov gave was the place called Kivrot Ta'ava, which means the place where they buried the lusts, burying the lust. And they had, what happened there was the people lusted after meat, and Hashem gave them meat for 30 days. And then when it was still in their teeth, Hashem whacked them, and they all died. Right? All these, you know, fat meat-eating slobs. I don't know. I'm sorry, my imagery is very immature today. Okay, you know, what do you picture here? What are you picturing here? Okay, you know. So in any case, while the meat was still in their teeth, they got hit with a plague and they died, and they had to bury those people. And they called that place burial place of desire. So the Baal Shem Tov says that is the place in a person's life where he gets what's called wisdom. Because wisdom is, when a person reaches a certain level of wisdom, they understand that the physical desires are just really nothing. So that means that results in them bearing their own desires, meaning because they don't really have much. Somehow they're able to see past. They're able to see the real wisdom. Like, I think I brought an example last week. Like I had a friend of mine in Israel. He's a health expert, right? He's definitely a student of one of the big masters. I was also a student, but he was number one. He was an A student, the master. Professor Amram Abu Chatzera. So my friend Moshe, I'd buy this cheesecake. You know, they have some pretty good cheesecakes in Israel, right? Not the, you know, some of the ones you buy here. These are really good. You know, it's like, I don't know if I forgot what it's called. In any case, you know, I'm opening up. I'm going to eat with him when we're sitting together. I'm going to eat my cheesecake. He says, "Do you know what I see when I see that?" So he started listing white, polyunsaturated flour, oils, polyunsaturated oils, right?
What a buzzkill,
processed dairy. You know, benzoate, this chemical, this chemical, and this chemical. Now ask me if I have a desire to eat it. Absolutely not. I'm like, can I say a bracha? I ate that. Okay. But you see through it if you really see it. I can say it, although I can say that, but my brain is saying, you know, it's not that. Don't listen to it. Okay.
Yeah.
So in any case, if you see through things, if you grasp wisdom, so the desires are buried. That was just one example. So it's not a physical movement. Come on, I've only moved 12 times in my lifetime. Let's move about 5 more this year so we can speed it up. Okay? No, that's not what it is. Okay? Of course, what it means is development or stages, enhancing a person's potential. Each one of the places that the Jewish people of Israel were in the desert, they were encountered with a force. Some lack of faith, some lack of emunah, on another level. Okay? Until they finally got to the land of Israel. Okay? So the significance of the 42 travelings, right? When that's complete, right? So then the Jewish people, after they finished those 42, they went into the land of Israel. So then, so then, through their own efforts, through their own work, they themselves were able to come to that same very level that they reached on the first Seder, on the very first Passover Seder, right? Because that's an aspect of what we call mochin de gadlut. That's a very significant word, mochin de gadlut, which means an expanded consciousness, right? Asher yitz'atzmu bi'atzmam, which they had to make efforts for themselves as much as they can through the 42 journeys in order to come to this level. So in other words, no matter what level you're at, that's why we say these 42 constantly, and we have to have it in mind, and eventually in the meditation of this 42, right? When you do it right, with the shining letters, when you hit your letter, you know, wherever you're on, you're going to draw energy from that letter to your soul and therefore it will enhance your strength. It will strengthen you in order to go ahead and move on. Okay? In other words, the map, where you are, where you're going, is in this name. Okay? Your whole soul, your journey, everything else about you, maximizing your potential. And I said last week, I had a friend of mine, and he was married. He was married to a non-Jew. He had non-Jewish kids. He divorced his wife. It was years. This happened years ago, and he was by my father-in-law. My father-in-law, and he started to meditate on the name. My friend. He started to use this as a daily meditation. He would do yoga and meditate on this BeKoach, right? And my father-in-law was sitting with him once, and he says, why don't you, I think it's time that you have a child from a Jewish woman, right? That's all my father-in-law said. Why don't you, you've had children from non-Jews. Let's try to have, maybe it's time. And he didn't think anything of it. I mean, he did. He was contemplating, okay, it would be a nice idea. While he was doing that, he says the BeKoach, and bada boom, bada beam, bada boom. He ends up having a fling with a Jewish woman and has a child from it. Didn't marry her in the end, but he has a Jewish child. He got it. He's so afraid of saying this prayer right now these days.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so
it's supposed to be quite a powerful prayer. Okay, so you got to learn to say it right. So we're going to start with the first. We're going to go through line by line because we have to understand what the prayer. I told the people here, I had a Kabbalist. I would go to many Kabbalists when I was in yeshiva, many. And one of the Kabbalists I went to, he nailed me. He says, you did this and you have to rectify this. I went to these Kabbalists for a rectification, soul rectification. And he said, you did this and you have to do this. And this is what you got to do. Right? And you say this every day? Right? I'm like, no, I don't say that. I'm gonna, Yeah, and he sat down with me and he went through the whole thing, word for word, to explain it to me, right? He sat there, and I was amazed at how he just took the time and patience to go through this prayer with me.
Is there a transliteration of this?
Somebody found it. It is online.
it is.
You can
Okay.
definitely get it.
Okay,
Somebody
because
found it.
this.
Yeah, I know. But anyways,
Not
we're
right
going to
now.
go.
Can't pronounce it.
But so how does it start? We beg of you, with the strength of your right hand's greatness, untie the bundled sins. Can you read that first line there?
Oh, this is it over here.
I'm doing the English.
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
okay,
it.
I
That's
didn't
the
realize
English.
that-
But that's
okay.
not transliterated.
No,
That's the
all right.
translation.
But that's okay. This is
Ana
the place
b'koach
to start.
gedula shemincha. Now, first of all, the way to say it again, and it's always better to have in front of you. And when you get trained with it, even the transliteration, you have to say 2-letter, 2-letter, 2-letter. Each sequence, each one of these lines is 6 letters. Even though here they divided it into groups of 3, the way it should be said, it should be you're saying first 2 letters, then the second set of 2 letters, then the third set. In other words, Ana b'koach, stop. Right? Gedula shemincha, stop. Tatir tzarura, stop. Okay? Each one of those 2 letters are angels. There's angels. Let's go ahead and take it. And that there's 3 sets, and the 3 sets we said was 1 angel. The first time you say it, the language was, right? The 3 aspects, right? The first 2 letters, the angel covers his face. The second 2, he covers his legs. And the third 2, he flies. And the next 2, he flies. Okay, Yofef, he flies. I don't really, I'm still early in the angelology Torah, right? I haven't studied much about
Like why that? Why this and that?
Well, covering face
that.
and covering legs. I don't know why covering.
What's the
legs.
connection? Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there is one, right?
Yeah, because why not
It has
cover
to be.
your midsection? You're covering your face, you cover your legs, and then fly. I mean, covering is obviously an aspect of you're going to be in front of the Shekhinah, so you can't look at the Shekhinah. You're not allowed to gaze at the Shekhinah. That's why we're not allowed to open our eyes in the silent prayer, because you will be looking at the Shekhinah. Okay, and you're not allowed to do that. Moshe Rabbeinu, according to one view in the Gemara, it was a praiseworthy thing that he did not gaze at the burning bush. Okay? They say there that he was actually rectifying Hevel, because he was a reincarnation of Hevel. And Hevel, who was the son of Adam, right? When the fire came down and consumed his offering, he gazed at the fire. He gazed at it. So Moshe Rabbeinu was like fixing Hevel, because he was Hevel, a reincarnation of Hevel, and therefore he was covering his eyes at the time. So the angels cover their eyes, cover their feet. Like I say, I really don't know. Flying, of course, because they're bringing it up. The idea really is the Ana BeKoach we said. What's the whole gist of it? The gist of this name, it brings it up. It's going to bring all your prayers up. These are like setting up. You're setting up your whole system where the prayers that you're about to say will all go up. Okay? So it's like a preempt setup situation. I don't know how you'd say it. Catapult, throw your line up. It hooks you up to all the upper worlds that there now is a chain in order that all your prayers can go up. So a line, a pipe.
You're supposed to say this first before you say anything.
Yes. We say it before we start to pray.
Okay.
We say it after Karbanot in the morning.
Okay.
After the offering. There's a section in the Siddur. The first, we say the first preliminary blessings.
Mm-hmm.
Then you say the Karbanot, you say the incense, and then after the incense you say that. Incense? We'll get to it. I'll teach you. I'm going to go.
Is that the only
incense.
time you say this? Is in the morning?
No.
Can you say it like
You
at
can say
night
it in the
before your
afternoon.
night prayers, or
You say it in the nighttime. People say it in the nighttime.
Yeah,
It's
bedtime
Krishna
Shema.
okay,
Lalita,
you can. Yeah, like
I
I'm
believe-
thinking just before the bedtime Shema, which okay. I don't
I'm
mean to
risking
divert
it.
this.
I'm risking this. I'm risking this. Don't disappoint me.
Is it there or is it not there? Right?
Let's take a guess, baby. Kabbalah Shabbat, we either have it there before we say the prayers, after we accepted Shabbat, just before we're going to receive the Shabbat, we make this prayer, okay? There's reasons why it's there in every single one of the places. Let me just go to Kriyat Shema Lamita
Wow, I
here.
never knew that.
Here, the bedtime Shema. Not mine, white man. Who's we, Kimosabi? No, it's not here. Who's we, white man? Okay, not here. Okay, sorry. Okay, what can you do? In any case, all right, so the first rule, the first line of this prayer, we're saying we beg you. Ana. Ana means we beg. BeKoach gedula shemincha, with the strength of your right hands, or what do you call it? Yeah, with the strength of your right hand's greatness, untie the bundled sins. Now, that's what it translates here. Here, he brings a different explanation. Really, he says here, that first line was, oh, yeah. Okay, the first line he says here, we're using this prayer after Sfirat Omer, he wants to say, but possibility, a way of possibility, that really what we're asking for is to attach ourselves to God. Because everything is about, we're here to attach ourselves to God. What am I here for? I'm here to be connected to God at all times, as much as possible. And we have to keep reminding ourselves. Yes, we're cast down here in a world of darkness, but with every single effort we have to do, we have to reattach ourselves and keep ourselves attached as much as possible. So with this, we're asking for this level of attachment through it. And how do we ask it? So we say, Avinu Shabashamayim, our Father in heaven, we're asking from you that with the strength of your kindness, which is called Gedula, greatness, the strength of your chesed, your kindness, right, which is hinted to in the right hand. We always associate God's right hand with chesed. Please help us to release the bound, the knot of our Yetzer Hara, the attachment of our Yetzer Hara that is sticking to us from the time of our birth. Wow. We're asking for the evil inclination to be released from its grip upon us. We talked about this, I think, the end of last time, okay? In other words, please, God, Tatir Tzarura, release the bound. Meaning what? I'm bound. My Yetzer Hara has got me so stuck. Please, just release it. Release that connection, okay? Untie that connection of our evil inclination that was in us from the time of our birth. Okay? That's number one. That's the first line. On the BeKoach, Gedula Shemincha, Tatir Terura, release the bound. So I guess it would fit also into here, untie the bundled sins, okay? Rabbi Nachman does say that the worst burden of any yid in the entire world, the most hardest thing, there's many things that we bear, there's many sufferings that we go through. The worst of all is the burden of sins. Just to have sins upon us is the most hardest thing to carry. So if we were released of those, you felt like, because the guilt, if a person is aware of them, the guilt that haunts a person and debilitates a person and takes a person down in their spirit, right, is always going to be, pulling them downward and impeding them from accessing their potential. You have to be able to please God, just release all the sins that I've done, right? The evil inclination, the sins, so I can now begin anew. I got to start fresh. And really, we have the power to start fresh. A big Jewish idea that they probably won't teach you anywhere but here, thank God for Rabbi Nachman, is renewal. We renew all the time. We can renew every second. You can be a completely new entity every single second. And physics comes out with that too. Physics agrees with this. They do say on an atomic level, we are a new person every 7 years atomically. Your stomach lining is changing every 4 to 5 hours. It's not the same
Your liver, I forget, 30 quarts of blood an hour.
Right. It takes 7 years to be completely a different person, right? In other words, you don't step in the same river twice. Okay? The idea is we're constantly, and now in the physics, in the quantum physics, it's like we're poofing in and out of creation so fast we don't even notice it.
I mean, I felt this for so long, that quantum physics was man getting closer to God. And many years ago, I read a book about the deoxyribonucleic acid, the DNA strands, and Watson and Crick. And one of the men, I can't remember which was which. One was a total atheist, the other was a Christian. And I read this book, and it was so amazing. And I sort of got touched then. I think I was in my 30s, late 30s, with the fact that everyone's seeking God, but I didn't know, because I wasn't led to the Jewish way yet, because God is in everything. I was Catholic, so we believe, strictness, like a dogma. And a lot of the Christians have their dogma, and this and that. It's
dogmatic, all right.
No matter what, this is what, anyway. But all of it to physics. And then Feynman, Richard P. Feynman, who was a famous physicist, was at the atom bomb. He was one of the people, he was very young then. And if you ever want to read, that man, to me, physics is man getting there and finding, that they even call it the God particle and the dark matter, because how is it that there are electrons and neutrons, yet they stay in the shape of this God?
Yeah, who told them to do that?
Yeah, and due to the fact we have this intellect from God, man has fashioned the ability to figure out why this stays solid. And anyway.
This is why you're going to love Kabbalah, because it's
that's why
it's like studying physics.
I looked up and I was like,
we do say, I've heard this imagery is that all the physicists are climbing this mountain to get to reality, the question of life, the answers to the question.
Some go away,
and they'll see the Kabbalist up there, probably roasting marshmallows. Like, where you been?
That's right. You said that somewhere before.
Right. Yep. So in any case, they already, we are so much in exile. We're trying to connect to Torah because we know it's in there. Mm-hmm. But thank God we have all the masters, the rabbis who before us, who we study and glean from all of their teachings. And Rabbi Nachman came out with the whole idea of renewal as a very dynamic, a principle in Judaism.
Well,
we believe in that.
Would mean you wouldn't be depressed. We wouldn't have so many depressed people, or they were calling the word depressed for something.
Yeah, so people look at themselves, I'm already too old to do that. He says, no, there's no old man here. He would scream. There's no old Rabbi Nachman.
Who is the rabbi that came here from Germany during the war? No, he didn't. He died in the 80s. he's very famous. He's got the white beard, and he was
White
in.
beard. That's really
Well, that's
unique.
like a million of them.
You mean
Well-
the Chabad rabbi?
Yeah.
Rabbi Schneerson.
Lubavitcher.
Yes.
No. Anyway, the last one. He's the last one, really.
Right.
He
Yeah.
died in.
Right.
You can get. They have videos of him speaking. So I've listened to them, and I'm just so moved because he does one on when you're getting older. What is retirement? Rabbi Friedman, Manis Friedman.
Yes.
He is another person
Right.
that, he can communicate.
Phenomenal.
He communicates very well to people.
Of all walks of
He
life.
has that, what do you call, untouchable communication way with people. And so anyway, on getting older, because so many people fall in, like you start getting my age and you're like, your society, my career ended due to my age. I wasn't able to get back into my career when something happened, and I was like tipping on that. And so anyway, all in all,
But that's the time you
this
have
is
to
Okay,
study.
so let's
That's
go
what
back.
I'm
Yeah.
doing.
Okay,
Right.
fine. So here, getting back.
Yeah, okay.
Renewal.
you're firing
Renewal.
Renewal. When you're free of the burden of sin, right? And you can do that with the concept of renewal, to know that you could just throw it off. Okay? You don't have to carry them. Problem is, we think that we do have to carry them. Okay? But if you can renew yourself and start anew, if you knew that, how much different would your attitude be towards life? Okay? You don't have to go back to that way of life again. You could be a completely different person. Okay? Sure, there might be effects of the sins that a person has done in their lifetimes, but you can deal with it. But the problem is not to carry the burden and to have it impede who you are, your potential, and your growth. Okay? Okay, so that's the first line. Okay? That's like, set us free. Okay? The next line is, Kabel rinas amcha sagvenu taharenu nora, which means, how do they translate that?
Accept the prayer.
Accept the prayer of your nation, strengthen us, purify us, O awesome one. Okay? The first letters here are really correspond to the second day of creation. The second day of creation, as we say, God did not say Kitov. And really, these words say something. We're not even allowed to say it, and we do say it actually in the Tekiyat Shofar on Rosh Hashanah. One of the kavanas is this name, okay? Because it really reads, I'm going to translate it. It has the word Satan in it. That's the second word. And the first one is kara. Kara, which means rip, okay? So if I would actually read those words that actually have meaning to it, not like all the other ones. None of them have words. Oh yeah, they do, but in any case, these words have a significant meaning, okay? Anyway, so what is the prayer here? It is a prayer. Kabel et rinasenu, please accept our song. How do they translate that?
Please, strong one.
Accept the prayer. They call it rinat, is prayer.
Oh, okay.
Rinat is more of a glad prayer, a happy prayer, okay? Kabel et rinat utfilasenu, accept our song and our prayer, and this prayer, and let us merit to be cleansed and to come up before you in purity, until there will not be found in us any ad shalotim sabanu shum yira, any awe, any fear, milvad yirasecha, except from fear of you. The only awe, the only fear. Let's look at fear, okay? Because fear is an interesting phenomenon that many people suffer from. Some even know it, and some people don't even know it, right? So the Baal Shem Tov was called in to his father as his father was dying, and his last words that he said to Rabbi Yisrael ben Rabbi Eliezer, the Baal Shem Tov, he says, you have to remember, you have to not be afraid of anything except God. It's the only thing to ever be afraid of. Never. Even though it might look that way, never to be afraid of anything. And the reason why that we have these external fears, so you have external fears, let's call them, and then you have the real fear. Now, fear is not a good word. It's a terrible word. Okay? Fear comes in many levels. Okay? The low level, and there's a higher level. Let's just talk about the higher level. The higher level is to be in awe. You want to be in awe. you want to have that unbelievable feeling that if you've never ever seen a really starry night for the first time in your life, if you could ever remember, where you'd look up and you'd see all the stars and you were awestruck, okay? Or they've taken some people who were always living in the Midwest, never saw an ocean before, and they've taken blindfold to the sea, take off the blindfold, and the person would be awestruck. Grand Canyon, or whatever it is, right?
And it's like a fear, but not.
It's an awe.
Yeah.
It's an awe. Fear is a bad word.
It's a terrible word.
That's an emotional.
It is.
Negative
It's like
emotion,
because
you know?
wherever, however it got tainted, it's tainted.
Yeah.
In our psyches, it's tainted, so it's hard to release ourselves from that.
Yeah, because it's
So we
negative.
use the word awe. But we can understand fear of driving down Fondren at night. Okay?
Yeah, or
That's
fear.
to buy gas.
Fear, right, to buy gas on Fondren in West Belford for sure at 11 o'clock at night. Okay? And my wife did it once, like, what's this red on the floor? Blood stain? Right? Whatever. You know, so, but those are called external fears, and Hashem sends us these external fears only to awaken us to the real fear, the real awe. Okay? So there's external,
Uses
all external fears. Everything else, if you drink that, you'll die, right? Or if you drink that, you'll get sick. Or if, come on, there's little fears and there's huge fears.
Yeah.
And there's a whole spectrum. But they're all external. Our only awe should be of you. And all of these things should only awaken us up to fear of you, God. To have that awe of you, to be in a state of constant awe, okay, it's a wondrous awe, it's a wonder, okay? The way he explains it is that the father once wanted to frighten his son, wanted to test him actually, and so he put on a scary mask. He went in, his son got freaked out until his son recognized that it's my dad wearing a mask. And once he says, Dad, so then the dad doesn't need to wear the mask anymore. So Hashem shows us these things in order for us to break the mask of matter, to break the external, because we have to do it, don't forget, it's coming from ourselves. Bread of shame. We have to break through ourselves. You have to do the work. This is a gym. The world is a spiritual gym, okay? 42 sets, okay? Okay, I want you to do me 42 sets of 42 push-ups right now, corporal. Okay, God damn. Okay, so in any case, okay, so it's a gym, it's a workout, and he sends us these external fears in order for us to convert them. To say, Dad, you're behind that. There's nothing for me to be else to me to have any kind of awe except for you. So here, this prayer is, please God, hear our prayers, purify us to come up before you in purity until we only have the proper awe of you, okay? That means accept the prayer of your people, sagvenu, strengthen us, and purify us, awesome one. That's what that means, okay? The next line. Okay, Na Gibor Dorshei Yehudacha Kavavas Shamreim. Okay? Kavavas Shamreim. I don't have a good, maybe this is, no, I got here. This is good, okay? So he says here, please, O strong one, those who foster your oneness, guard them like the apple of your eye. Okay? So what is this prayer about? Behold, all of our requests, kol bakshasenu, hi lama'an navo el atachlis shlama'ana barata otanu. All of our requests, all of our seeking, all of our journey, every single thing we ask is only that we come to the goal that why you created us. Why did you create us? For what purpose am I here? Okay? For what purpose am I here? You really need to have that in a card in your pocket and look at it like at least 1 hour a day, or have it on your screensaver, or flash in something. Why are you here? Okay? We only want to come to the goal of why, the purpose of why you created us, because you're my creator and I'm a created. And that is in order that we should grasp to become attached to you, and therefore, please, mighty King, Shamor na otanu, please guard over us. Umyachadim shimcha, please join your name. Al kol ma shebarasa leolam, you should attach or join your name on every single thing that you've created in order that we could constantly come to that connection. In other words, we should be in constant connection. V'shamira zu, and this protection, v'shmira zu tiyeh aleinu, and this special protection that you are guarding us with has to be very specific and very special, like a man who guards the apple of his eye. That behold, your way is to drive, is to guide measure for measure. Interesting, measure for measure. That's unbelievable. Okay, everything God does is measure for measure. Okay, in other words, we really want to come to the goal of why you're here, and that was to attach ourselves to you. So please guard us that we're able to stay attached, just like a person guards the apple of his eye. Okay, always the first thing, right?
Yeah.
Is to protect the eyes. Okay, so the same way we should always be protected from any kind of outside harm, but mostly we should be protected that we should be still always in the zone of being attached to you. Keep us here, guard us, keep us close. Okay. Baruchenu ta'arenu rachamei tzidkascha tamid gamleim. And then how do they translate that? Bless them, purify them, show them pity. May your righteousness always recompense them. Okay? Barech otanu, bless us with success that we should merit to fix our character traits and to come to purity. And also, shiadanu, that we also know we're so far from drawing close to you, so very far. Im kol zos, but nevertheless, even though we're so far, we're still asking compassion, that you should see our desire to be attached to you, but with the work of your righteousness. Therefore, with the l'chein ana gamul aimanu es hasadecha tamid. Therefore, please bestow upon us your constant kindness. Okay, so that's what it means by bless us, purify us, have compassion on us with your righteousness. Tamid gamleim, you should constantly be bestowing upon us. The next line, Chasin kadosh barov tuvecha. Chasin kadosh is like, how do they translate that?
Well, here it says powerful Holy One.
Okay, Chasin is like, I guess, wait a minute. It's like a fortress almost, Chosin. So we'll go with this translation. Chasin kadosh barov tuvecha, in your great goodness, nachel adasecha. Please guide your people. Okay, at bitchonenu v'chesirosenu hakel hakadosh anu tolim bach. Our trust and what we lack. We're totally dependent upon you. Asher darkechel harbos betuvos. Your way is to go ahead and increase much goodness. Kedei lahanhig et adat amecha Yisrael. All in order to what? To lead, to guide your people Israel. Shemavakshim es karvasecha. That we're asking to be close to you. Okay? We're made to be dependent creatures, And, seriously, it's that the problem is people are constantly trying to seek an independence, but it's so not true. We're always dependent. But the real thing is, okay, we have to live with it. As a child, when they're first born, is so dependent. And they're dependent until they're 18. And then they think they can get a job, but something, and they get a job. Baruch Hashem, they get a job, right? And they get to move out, is fantastic. Get a car, and they've got their own life, Baruch Hashem. But something, everything comes from God. And we're constantly dependent upon God, constantly. We just have to come to terms with that we need God's kindness always. The amazing thing that strikes me in this line is Nahel adasecha, which means, how does it guide your people or your flock? Okay? Because we all need guidance. So that's a whole, powerful Holy One, with your abundant goodness guide your congregation. One and only, exalted one. That's the next line. Yechid ge'el li'amcha pnei zochrei kedushasecha. One and only, exalted one, turn to your nation, which proclaims your holiness. Now we're asking God to turn. Okay, turn to us. Okay? Atahu hayachid, you are the singular, the most special. Lefi shelafi chashkenu v'avodaseinu oscha. Since that we are yearning, we have a desire, right? And we want to serve you. Tasig ga'ava v'tispa'ir banu. Please reach our glory. In other words, let us become glorified through you. U'lechein kedai lecha lifnot u'levakeshes amecha asher zochrim oscha b'chol ma'asechem. Therefore, it is worth it for you to turn to the request of your people, which you are mentioning them, which you remember, you remember, asher zochrim oscha b'kol ma'asechem. Yet they're always, all of their deeds are always constantly remembered before you. Mekadshim oscha b'chayechem uvamosam, and you should sanctify them in their lifetimes and even when they pass from this world. In other words, we're asking God. It seems like the first words are always like we're praising an aspect of Him. We're calling a certain revelation. We're attaching ourselves to a certain concept. When we see Yechid Ge'eh Le'amcha Pnei, turn to your people, and then Zochrei Kedushasecha, remember your holiness. So we're asking God, please, we are the holy ones. You're special to us. We're special to you. Please have before you constantly go our memory. Okay? Our memory of our holiness. Zuchrei Kedusha Secha, okay? Turn to us, remember us. That's that line. Shavasenu kabel ushma tzakasenu. Receive our prayer, hear our cry. Yodea talumos, you who knower of secrets. Is that how they translate it? Accept our entreaty and hear our cry, O knower of mysteries. Okay? Sometimes there are times we don't have the koach to go ahead and arrange before you a prayer that would come out of our lips. Only in the crying of our heart that is inside. Even though we don't actually express it with our mouths. We're still very, very trusting in you. You're going to accept our prayers. In other words, prayer, there's not such a thing as prayers in the heart. Really, our prayer should always be expressed in our mouths, but sometimes it just doesn't make it. And we know we have wishes and desires that are in our hearts that sometimes we don't express. So please, can you please listen to those? Accept those. And you should hear our cries, which go up from the rachashe libenu, from the shouting of our hearts. That's called the silent scream. Ki ata yodea, because you know, umasig kol ta'alumos, you know everything hidden, and everything that's hidden in the heart of man. And if so, Avinu Shabashamayim, our Father in heaven, osei na imanu l'tova, make for us, please, for good, ot, a sign. Please make us a sign. V'hosh yenu, that sign should be, we should be delivered. L'man shimcha, for the sake of your name. So that's what that last line is. Accept our prayer, hear our cry, because sometimes Shavasenu kabel, Shavasenu is something inside, and hear our cries, which is an external. Yodea talumot, you know every single thing that's going on inside of me. And then finally, the last line, which we always have to say after this holy name, is we have to say, blessed be His glorious name, who's forever and ever. Baruch Shem. We say it softly. Ubezeh, not like some people say it loud in certain synagogues. I think even twice. I don't know which synagogues. Ubezeh shetasienu, and in this you should help us. Lahafoch es hachomer l'tzura. Please help us to convert, to shift over the form, meaning the substance, the chumrius, the physicality to form. In other words, help us to elevate the physicality. Yivorach Shimcha, may be blessed your name, Al Yadenu, through us. Kafi Kol Borei Olam, in front of all of the creations of the world. Vayitvaseif Kavod Rav LaMalchusecha, it should be increased a great glory for your kingdom. She'atahi Bahastara, now you're hidden. Ulatid Tiskale, in the future you'll be revealed. Achen V'atzmosecha, and therefore in your essence. Uvecha, and in you, Abori Yitbarach. Oh, wait a minute, let me just read that. Achen V'atzmosecha Uvecha Habori Yitbarach Ein Shinui Klal. We know that in you, in your essence, there is no change. Ki Malchuscha Ki Nitzchi, your kingdom is eternal. V'kayemes le'olam v'ed, and it's always existent. So when we say, blessed be his name, whose glorious kingdom is forever and ever, we say, you don't change. You don't change. Help us to connect to you. Help us to be able to elevate the physicality in us to becoming a higher form. And that through us, right, your name should increase in the world, as just as now you're hidden, but we know that you will be revealed. So when we say Baruch Shem, we're really wishing for God to be revealed in the world. Anyway, so that's the basic line by line of this prayer. Okay? So you'll have to get it in transliterated form, but you always have to have this in front of you, even when you memorize it. This is the Kung Fu. This is Jewish Kung Fu. Okay?
So
you have to go ana, BeKoach, and you have to be looking at the letters. Getting the letters to shine is the next step. Okay? But first, just look at the letters and try to say the prayer with each transliterated word. Ana, BeKoach, Gedulas, Yamincha, Tatir, Tzarura. And eventually, you'll come to an understanding of it. This is years of practice. But now you've been exposed. The 42-letter name, your life, squished in this 42-letter name. Your map, your destiny is right in here.
This would be a good project to put on a laminated card for us.
Yeah, you go. Thank you.
Later.
I think we can do that.
But you know what? I was just thinking about maybe